Lords, I rise with great pleasure to speak following everyone who's spoken in this group already, and to thank the Noble Lady Baroness Chakrabarty for so powerfully and clearly introducing this amendment to which I was pleased to attach my name. I really think the case has been overwhelmingly made, so I won't go over the same ground, but just seek to add a couple of points and draw some things together. And I think it's interesting that in your Lordship's House we actually started the day with the final part of the ARIA bill, when the Lordship's House was from several quarters expressing concern about public money going into ARIA and were we going to see public returns from that money. And as the Noble Lady Baroness Chakrabarty said, very often what we've seen is the socialisation of costs and the privatisation of profits in so many areas of research and knowledge. And I would draw attention to any Noble Lord who hasn't actually seen it, a very useful briefing on this amendment, jointly prepared by Just Treatment, Stop AIDS, Global Justice Now, and Universities Allied for Essential Medicines. And that really brings out 2 points, and I think it's worth looking at the national and the international. We've tended to focus on the international. Nationally, there's some fascinating figures on that, in that if you look at the NHS, it pays more than £1 billion a year for medicines, but 2/3 of the upfront costs of producing those medicines has come from public funding. And that's the national side. Looking at the international side, we've already talked and we've focused very much on COVID, but we really need to think about the fact we are now in the age of shocks. In a world that's environmentally extremely disturbed, and that's certainly a factor in the appearance of COVID. We've seen SARS, we've seen MERS, there's Ebola out there. We need to build resilience into our world. And we're talking about changing so many different things, whether it's supply chains or whether it's medical supply chains specifically. We really need to think of preparing for that different world with a focus on resilience rather than the focus having been on profits, private profits. And I think the Noble Lord, Lord Crisp, asked an interesting question, which is why is it that we see the UK, the EU and Switzerland lining up essentially against the rest of the world? And I think the answer is there in profits, in an ideology that says we have to organise everything for private profits and somehow the benefits will trickle down. And it's interesting that today Michael Gove is actually on the record as saying that will trickle down hasn't worked, it's a failed ideology. There's also, of course, the impact of those profits being fed into our political system and the influence that that money and that lobbying has. But I want to finish just with a final thought. The Noble Lady Baroness Chakrabarty said that, and I think this reflects what other Noble Lords, particularly the Noble Lady Baroness Lawrence and the Noble Lord Lord Crisp said, that we have been utterly wicked in our behaviour towards the Global South in the COVID pandemic in terms of failing to ensure they have crucial vaccines. Well, we have also, my lords, as has become obvious with Omicron, spectacularly shot ourselves in the foot. Those who will not accept moral arguments for this amendment, please look at the practical self-interest. No one is safe until everyone is safe.